4, Dotun Adebayo looks at why many black British people are converting to Islam.
In the meantime, between time, you're in tune to the sounds of poetic pilgrimage, alongside the Abyssinians, seeking that land far away. Listen to.
I say Islam has offered me a way of life, a way of direction and patience. My mother was Christian, so growing up in a Christian household, it was a lot of tradition and things that I didn't really understand, just do what is told. Islam has given me evidence, given me knowledge of why I do things.
I embraced Islam and I didn't tell my parents, so it was something I had to hide. I pray in secret, go to the mosque, I had to lie to go to the mosque, say that I'm getting basketball, but really truly I'm gone to the mosque.
Being Muslim has helped me to identify myself more as being British than anything else. So I converted to Islam myself exactly 3 weeks before the 7/7 bombings to the day. I've never known an Islam that wasn't in terms of like in a state of hostility where people were always suspicious. And it made me really start to question myself as a black person, as a Muslim, and like, why am I here? What am I doing here?
They're black, they're British, and they're Muslim. Abdullah and Munira are three of a growing number of converts or reverts of Caribbean and African heritage to Islam. According to the 2001 census, there are 1.54 million Muslims in England and Wales. There are no figures for how many of those are converts, but in South London, young black Brits from non-Muslim backgrounds are filling the mosques. I'll be exploring this phenomenon and asking why, for Britons of Caribbean and African heritage, is Islam becoming such an attractive religious alternative to the Christianity of their parents?
So I went to Sunday school every Sunday. I had just different questions, questions about the concept of the Trinity, questions about the New Testament, the Old Testament, questions like the ethnicity of what Jesus is. I then started trying to find myself in terms of like my black consciousness, find out more about myself, like, as a black person, the history of myself.
Munira Williams of Poetic Pilgrimage converted to Islam as a student. Her headscarf and ankle-length dress are outward representations of this conversion. The latest trainers on her feet give away where she's coming from. She's young, Muslim, and black. She's also very British. Her mother is a deacon in the Pentecostal church.
I called my mum and I was like, "Oh, Mum, I convert to Islam." She's like, "Tanya, what you talking about?" type thing. So my mum didn't really understand, but I invited my mum to come and see the show. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not ready to go yet because I need to pray." She was like, "Okay." So I went to prayed, and then a bit later on I was like, "I got to pray, Mum." And she was like, "Why are you praying so much?" And I was like, "Because I'm a Muslim." And first of all, my mum took it really badly. She felt as if I was going against everything that she had taught me. But now it's been fine because I think my mum sees that as A, is not a phase, B, that I've become a better person as a result of it, and C, we don't see each other that often, so there's no point in arguing about theology. I'm British. I am also Jamaican. I find strength from like my Caribbean roots, especially looking back historically about people who were taken to the Caribbean. 1 in 3 of them were Muslim, so I find strength in that. My culture is a British culture. My traditional dress is like what I see in Topshop or charity shops or like,
Does Islam allow you to express that culture?
Of course. Islam says women cover. So right now I have on like my Adidas honey highs, my bohemian dress, my purple polo neck, and the grey pashmina, because Islam doesn't stipulate you have to dress like a Saudi Arabian. Islam doesn't stipulate how you have to dress. It just says cover. How people decide to cover, for me, is more exciting. It's like, okay, I've got this to work within. How creative can I be?
Munira is typical of the young converts that Richard Reddy spent time with whilst researching his book Black Muslims in Britain, the only detailed account of the phenomenon.
The interesting thing is, from my studies, I have a number of people who had their formation within the church. They sort of come from solid church backgrounds, the kinds of individuals who were and are pivotal within the church, and their children were meant to be the next generation of deacons and pastors. But for a number of reasons, they walked away from the church, and people couldn't make sense of the Trinity. And when they sought to ask questions within the church about, tell me more about the Trinity, explain it to me, I can't get my head around this 3 in 1, 1 in 3 concept, the answers they received just weren't believable. For others, they just couldn't share the faith of their parents. For others, it was a case of, that was fine, your experience is completely different to mine as a black Brit. They wanted something that could actually speak to that particular experience, and the churches weren't doing that. And for some, they were looking for a sort of an anchor, something which could tell them this is right and this is wrong. And if they followed that, it would enable them to walk the straight path. And that's what it seemed to offer them, a sort of a moral anchor.
Bishop Joe Aldred from the Church of God of Prophecy is the author of Black Churches in the 21st Century. I asked him, is this increasing number of conversions from Christianity to Islam something new?
It's a new phenomenon in terms of the turn to Islam, but it's not a new phenomenon in terms of the trend. For a start, there's nowhere else for them to come from. The overwhelming majority of people from the Caribbean were Christians, and so that's the base. So in the 70s, it was Rastafarianism. In more recent time, it's been Islam. People's search for meaning, search for a more fulfilled life is an endless one.
But what is Islam offering these young people? What is Islam offering them as a reason to keep coming back?
In a sense, as I understand it, to people who are now feeling, I'm not sure if where I am is where I want to be. And what I will tell you is that the people I have met, both in the days of Rastafarianism in the 70s, the guys who were teaching, like the smart guys who are now teaching Islam, they know their stuff. And they are then finding easy pickings amongst inquiring minds coming from Christian backgrounds who have not had Christianity explained to them very well. And I'm not saying that if we had great explainers and apologists of the black Christian faith that nobody would leave. That's not my point, because the people must always have that free choice. And if they find something else that they prefer, then they go there. But they shouldn't be leaving because they don't understand the thing, or because somebody has not explained it to them. And I'm saying there's a real problem there. So yes, it needs to blacken up, need to pay attention to the cultural issues that attend black life in Britain. It also needs to smarten up. And the main way of smartening up is training for black clergy, particularly the Pentecostal black clergy from the Caribbean.
The Nation of Islam has been the high-profile face of black Muslims in this country since its male members in their sharp suits and bow ties first became visible in our inner-city streets in the 1980s. An alternative not just to Christianity but to traditional Islam. Apart from smartening up and blackening up, what does a religious movement from the United States have to offer a young black Brit? The UK representative of the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan for the Nation of Islam, Minister Hilary Muhammad.
Britain has failed young black people, and as a result of young black people being failed, then God has to intervene in their affairs. And we believe that he has intervened in their affairs by raising up the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan and giving him a plan and a program to equip us to be relevant in not just Britain but throughout the world. Because what every human being needs who leaves from the womb of their mothers is education. An education that will fit them out to the degree that they can survive and compete in the world. So what the Nation of Islam offers first and foremost is a knowledge of God, a knowledge of self, the knowledge of the enemy and the consequences of not doing something for ourselves.
So essentially you're equipping young black Britons with the tools to become independent.
Well, to become relevant and to become human beings first and foremost, because any human being who lacks the knowledge of self falls victim to a society wherein they are engineered into prisons and other systems that destroy their minds, body and their soul.
The Nation of Islam were unwilling to provide me with any figures on membership numbers. According to them, they reach a lot of people online. But one rich source of converts for the Nation of Islam are the country's prisons, where black Britons make up an alarming 14.5% of the inmates, according to figures from the Ministry of Justice for 2009 in England and Wales. Black Britons, by the broadest estimate, make up less than 5% of the population. Traditional Islam is also experiencing large numbers of conversions behind the prison walls. Abdul Haq Adi is a prison outreach worker for Brixton Mosque.
Brixton Mosque is very accepting of ex-offenders coming into the community. The offences usually range between sort of maybe violent offences, robberies, maybe even drug dealing and that kind of thing. Not only is the mosque more accepting than other mosques, but we also try to deal with those issues that the people might have had, which might have led them to be in prison in the first place. Many of us in the community in Brixton, where some of us come from very colourful backgrounds, so we kind of understand a bit more the backgrounds which people who have been put in prison, what they've been through and what they want to do with their lives.
But they've
basically
got lots of options, haven't they? Because as well as you going into prisons, there might be a prison chaplain trying to broaden their understanding of Christianity. At the same time, there might be other faiths there doing the work as well. But what does Islam have to offer somebody who's sitting in jail?
Islam is really just providing an ethos, kind of a code of life, which maybe other options do not provide for them. There are guidelines there. It provides a way of life, and not just that ethos, there's also a spiritual element attached to it as well. That's why this kind of holistic approach which Islam has, I think that's why it's very appealing to many people, especially to many young people as well.
Brixton Mosque welcomes newly converted inmates on release. The mosque is situated in a two-storey double-fronted white stucco Victorian villa opposite the local police station. I know the building well. Back in the 70s, we used to go raving there with sound systems playing reggae all night long. All that changed in 1990 when a small group of reverts set up there. Today, Brixton Mosque is home to a wide array of Muslims. A large number of them are da'is, callers to Islam, or converts from non-Muslim backgrounds. The women's entrance is to one side. A constant flow of men go through the other entrance, take off their shoes and bow to prayer. One of those who heeded the ministry of the Brixton Mosque while serving time behind bars is 20-year-old Black Briton Abdul Shahid.
I was introduced to Islam in 2004, 2005 by my uncle. He just told me little things, and I can tell by the way he was, like, he changed himself. And when I used to know him, I used to always hear things from my auntie saying uncle used to do this and that. So I was thinking, now when I see him, he looked calm, humble, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's what I would like to be as well, calm and humble. And I took the choice of becoming a Muslim, but I didn't completely follow it. So that's what I feel. Taking up the religion, not completely following it, made me like do negative stuff. I was basically just saying I was Muslim, but I wasn't putting it to practice. So I feel that after that, I started following my friends. So as I was in a calamity, like I went prison and things like that. So I asked God to help me, and obviously now I'm here now and I'm out. He's given me what I wanted. He's answered my prayers. So now I feel that it's my duty for giving a chance to ask for this chance now. Now I've got it, and I wouldn't want to go back on my word to God, or I'll be looking as a hypocrite. So now I've been practicing slowly Islam, and I've been trying to implement it into my lifestyle, and it's been easy.
It took a prison sentence for you to come correct.
Before I went prison, I left South London to go and live with my grandmother in East. So I was basically going down the right route anyway. Me going jail, alhamdulillah, I found Abdul Haq, and he's helping me now to understand the religion in an orthodox way, an authentic way. So that's why I say prison helped me. But I would have looked anyway myself if I never went prison. So it just made things easier, basically.
Of course, since 9/11, and more acutely here in Britain since the 7/7 London bombings, young British Muslims have come under the scrutiny of wider society. Homegrown extremists, radicalised away from mainstream Islam, are a very real fear. The organisation's strategy to reach, empower and educate teenagers, or STREET, sees nearly 5,000 young Muslims annually coming to its youth centre, which also functions as a computer college and a place of worship. At the time of prayer, the youngsters stop playing ping pong or whatever else they're doing and gather together in a corner facing Mecca. One of those youngsters is MJ, a Black Briton of West African heritage, who now, as a youth worker, passes on his street knowledge to other youngsters.